I'm Michael Bain and welcome to Triggered, coming to you from an unburned secret hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains. Yes, we have survived the Alexander Mountain fire. Thank you to first responders, the firefighters. Amazing, amazing job. And now I'm reorganizing my gun safes because I had to sort out what would go with me, what would stay behind. And I was looking at a bunch of different guns and I thought, some of these you've seen, but the key thing about these guns, which is sort of the theme of today's show, is bits and pieces. That is, guns that are assembled out of parts. Some work, some don't. This guy worked great. It's 44 Magnum. Really great looking little 44 Magnum, short barreled. Started out a 41 Magnum. My father bought it brand new from Smith & Wesson. It never worked. For 10 years I kept saying to my dad, send it back to Smith & Wesson. He never did. One day he gave it to me and he goes, here, take this 41 Magnum. I said, I hate 41 Magnum, Dad. I'm not going to do anything with it. And he goes, take it anyway. So it sat in my safe instead of his safe. And then I started thinking, a friend of mine offered me a short 44 Magnum barrel if I pulled out the cylinder and took the barrel off the 41 Magnum, gave it to him. A gun parts place had an inexpensive 44 Magnum cylinder. So I took the 44 Magnum cylinder, 44 Magnum barrel, and the 41 Magnum, sent it to Jim Stroh at Alpha Precision, and he built it into an incredibly good gun. Let me show you one that almost worked. Here's the flip side of the coin. This is a 45 ACP, probably a 1917 Smith & Wesson frame, coupled with a modern barrel, a modern ramped 45 barrel. It was because it was the only one I could find. So you end up with what amounts to an exceptionally ugly little gun with this big gap and everything. The odd thing was, it shot really well. I was surprised at how well it shot. Needed to get timed, maybe just a little work with it. So I sent it to Randy Lee at Apex Tactical and said, could you just time it and make sure it's 100% and everything? And he called me up and he goes, good Lord, Michael, where did you get this? I said, well, it's assembled out of a bunch of different pieces. And he goes, yeah, that's a surprise. He goes, you couldn't time this thing correctly on a bet. He goes, you can shoot it. It's going to shave a little lead every now and then. He goes, but for a gun made up of like pieces from 4 or 5 different guns, it doesn't shoot bad. But he goes, you know what? It is but ugly. When we come back, more bits and pieces.
You know the RIA 5.0 packs radically new innovations, but we didn't stop there. Introducing the RIA 5.0E. The E stands for enhanced, as in new optics, cuts, and plates. The updated barrel is crafted with improved materials and slide geometry. The look and feel is also enhanced. Plus, new lightning cuts show off the updated match-grade barrel. Experience the enhanced RIA 5.0E today.
Welcome back to our Bits and Pieces Triggered. Now, of course, you've seen this guy because this is one of my pride and joys. It is a 44 Special, Smith & Wesson 44 Special mountain gun built by Hamilton Bowen. Smith & Wesson never made a mountain gun in 44 Special, but I wanted one really badly. So Hamilton said, well, all you got to do is gather up a few pieces here and there. The pieces I gathered up was a well-used L-frame 686 357, also an L-frame barrel, separate gun, that was able to be rechambered to 44, a cylinder from when Smith & Wesson made L-frame 44 Specials. I just kept my eyes on all the auction sites and finally the cylinder became available. I gathered up all these pieces, gathered up a trigger, gathered up a hammer, sent it to Hamilton Bowen, and he built really an amazing gun. It's pretty much what anybody could ask for in a carry packing gun 44 Special. The trigger is perfect, the sights are great. Oh gosh, it's a really nice gun. And if you wanted one just like it now, you could buy a Smith & Wesson Model 69, which they came out with about 2 years later after I built this one. Let me show you an almost. This is an almost. Somehow, I ended up with a Smith & Wesson 1917 frame. Just a frame, didn't have a cylinder, didn't have a barrel. I thought, well, I wonder what I could do with it. So I spoke with Bob Cogan at Accurate Plating and Weaponry. He was down in Florida then. I moved later to Alabama. Said, hey, I got a frame. And he goes, look around, see what you can find. The only thing I could find was a 38 special cylinder. This is when Smith & Wesson made 3844, very heavy frame. 38s, getting ready for the 357. And then Bob said, you know, I think I got a 6-inch 38 barrel. So we built this gun. And it is interesting, at the very least. It's a 38 special, 1917 Smith & Wesson. It shoots really, really well, but you know what? Nobody would be willing to shoot really hot plus P loads out of this because none of us have any idea how good these parts are. Everything we got as parts was very, very well worn. So I wouldn't call this a miss, but I would call this a gun that I really wouldn't like to stake my life on. When we come back, I want to show you a gun I would stake my life on, but strangely enough, it's not mine. This week's Triggered is brought to you by Rossi. The legend continues. Stoeger. Everyday Tough. Hunter's HD Gold. They change so you don't have to. MTM Case Guard. Quality shooting sports accessories. And Ed Brown. The best money can buy for over 50 years. This is a Colt Trooper 357. Remember, not everybody could afford a Python, so Colt came out with kind of a lower version 357, the Trooper, which is actually a super beautiful gun. This particular Trooper is as new. The reason it is as new is it's not mine. When I was leaving New York City, leaving Long Island in 1979, a friend of mine said, man, I got a gun. I need to get it out of the city. I don't want to go through the permitting. You're driving south. Would you mind taking my gun till I move back? And I said, no problem, dude. So I carried his gun, and over the years I'd say, whenever you would like that Trooper, just let me know. And he goes, don't worry, I will let you know. It's been a while now. I think it's 2024. I haven't heard from him about the Trooper. I'm hopefully still alive out there somewhere, and not going to mention any names, but hey, if you need a perfect 357, I've got your gun. Come pick it up. I'm Michael Bain. This is Triggered, thankfully unburnt. And you can find us on michaelbain.tv, where is archives of all of our shows. Great amount of information. You can find us on YouTube, find us on Facebook, find us on X, and find us on Rumble, where they actually like us. We'll see you next week, unless maybe a meteor strike.